Hey, it's Mike and James from the Tactical Den podcast. I want to do a quick video on upgrading these Actionunion PEG 15s and how I like to take them apart and then make them somewhat recoil proof. It's a concept more than an actual thing. I'm just trying to see how they work and how it holds up to actual recoil. So I did this with one of them already. This is a buddy's. He asked me to do it to his, so we'll see how it goes through. All right, so first things first is we're going to go ahead and we're going to take this thing completely apart. I like to set the screws aside by putting the screws inside of some sort of a case. All right, I'm going to keep these with that. All right, and then you're going to come here to the front. And you're going to remove this bottom screw right here. This bottom screw is what attaches the entire thing. So with that, we should be able to theoretically split open the two halves. Here we go. All right. So with this out of the way, you can see here on the inside, laser modules right here. It takes these two turrets here and here and it pushes it in here to get it to aim. To get it to zero. And you know, it's in there. It's fairly good. It's not going to move around much with it right here. And so, is it the most sturdy thing in the world? No. Can we reinforce it and make it better? Absolutely. So we're going to do that to this little piece right here, and we're going to pop this whole thing. And that's what we're going to be doing. This right here is this liquid electrical tape, and then we're going to take some of this right here, this quick fast drying epoxy. Got myself some brushes for both of those items. And we're going to start by potting this entire PCB. Dip that in there. We're going to give it one quick coat, kind of all over this whole thing. Anything that's soldered, you want to get it over that. So right back here, want to get it over that. This stuff's pretty goopy, so it's not super easy to move around. So just kind of guide it into the right spot. And it basically just seals everything off here, you know. Just anything that looks important, anything that could move, anything that could unplug, we're just covering. We're just giving it that extra little bit of reinforcement, right? So these plugs, yeah, we definitely don't want these to become undone while we're shooting or anything like that. So we want to make sure that these plugs and all this wiring here gets covered. Because last thing we want is for that stuff to shift when we're trying to do this, when we're firing. So we're going to get all this stuff covered here. Right here, this is soldered to the battery housing, so we're going to cover that soldering. We're going to get all this stuff underneath the wires here. We're going to get it all over this plug here for the flashlight. Just get this whole thing covered. It's not going to look pretty either, because it's green. It's the only color I've got. So just this big wad of green kind of just all over it. Doesn't look the prettiest, but it does the job. So we're with that, right, with the PCB, we're going to go in here. We're going to grab a little bit extra. And right here, right, I'm going to put it right around the wires here for the flashlight, because we don't want those to break or get snagged or anything like that, right? And then next, we're going to come up in here and we're going to do the same thing for inside the wires, right? So I like to grab a little bit. We're just going to put that in there. Kind of get that filled up. hold it in place. Doesn't let it get unplugged or anything like that. Same thing, I'm gonna grab some more. We're gonna go right in. All right, that should really contain most of those wires. Not really worried about those wires moving or anything like that. Now, you would be able to take off this spring, right? And then put the spring in this whole thing. That whole thing comes off. I found they don't really need to remove it. A lot of these upgrades you can do with it closed like this. It just saves a lot of time. But now we're going to take the epoxy here. Get both of these out. Just like that. Grab a little brush or something like that and just start mixing it together. Got a nice little mix here. Alright. I take a little bit on the brush here. You're focusing on the spring. That's right here. You really want to get it attached to this body, right? Because what happens is it under recoil and stuff like that, this spring can get detached, and we don't want that. So we're gonna go in here and we're gonna cover it with the epoxy so it just doesn't move. We're gonna do the same thing on the top here. That's really what we're looking for right there. And just kind of go through, make sure nothing's in the wrong spot or anything like that. And that everything is going to be able to dry in the correct spot. Which everything here looks pretty good. It looks like it's good to go for the most part. It's going to dry, and then after it's done drying, it's got to cure, and then after that, we'll see where it's at, and then we'll be good to go ahead and start cleaning things up, and then start sealing everything off and making sure that everything's good to go. Something that I didn't do for the last unit that I want to try to do for this unit, take a little bit of foam. And I didn't get to do this for the last one, but I know foam, it can condense pretty good. You know, I haven't tried it out, you know, so I don't know if it's gonna work or anything like that, but to try to get it underneath the actual laser itself, and that would kind of, in theory, should help kind of hold everything in place, the laser in place, you know, so it's not just being held on the one pin, which it's what it's being held on right now. There's this little pin here that goes into the actual area right here. That's what holds it in place. So I kind of figured, hey, if you grab a little bit of foam or something like that that can hold it in place, it'll keep it from moving around on the inside there. And then I figured I'd do some on the top here because I got some more. Just go through and kind of put it on the top there, and then let it go into place, and then kind of just let the whole thing dry. So what I am gonna do right now though is get this part into the little hole where it's supposed to be, and then lift the whole thing up, and that way it can dry that way. Okay, so everything over here is all good. That's covered. Everything over here is covered. Everything in here is covered. There's some foam there on the back, and then the whole springs up here are all epoxied, and that'll keep that from moving. Then the next thing I'm going to do is and then kind of just let this thing set here, let it cure, let it dry, and then that should be a really quick, just a little upgraded housing on the inside here. Just the electronics, the internals, they're all upgraded and everything like that. Should be able to hold 0. But like I said, it's a concept. We'll see. Now we wait for it to dry. Everything's in there, and it's sealed up.